Elon said, you can either do a lot of good for a small amount of people or a little good for a large amount of people. And I will tell you personally, it's way harder to do a little good for a lot of people than a lot of good for a small amount of people. There is a reason that Tesla started at the top. They started only selling to rich people. They had the Roadster, which is $250,000.
Get in trouble because they're like, I have to keep moving the goalpost, but if the goalpost is to play, then you win by playing. And so for that, sure, we set goals for the company, but like, I'm 1,000% super motivated. And at the same time, if we never hit it, I'm just going to be happy that I was able to play. I also know that in 3 generations, everyone will forget who I am. And so one of my favorite quotes is, the work works on you more than you work on it. And so if you want to be the best in the world at something, you do the work to become the best in the world, and the work works on you. And so, I mean, there's a biblical proverb. I think it says like, there is profit in all labor. So I define learning by same condition, new behavior. And so when you go to a video game and you battle through the level and you battle the boss, if you keep doing the same thing to the boss and you keep losing, then you have not learned because you have the same condition and the same behavior.
If you want to sell based on value in terms of low cost, you need to build the infrastructure for huge amounts of demand, because the only way that you make money selling to poor people is selling tons and tons and tons of them. Look at Walmart, look at Amazon. These are businesses that were built for volume day one, and they win on efficiency.
You have the potential to make a shitload of money or lose a ton of money because you didn't check your math. And so the more I've been reinforced for thinking independently, and in the beginning it's on small things, and then you just continue to reinforce that cycle of, I came to this conclusion on my own. It seems different than everyone else's, but I think my thing makes sense. So I'm going to do that. We are all one decision away from changing our lives forever, and a lot of us don't even know it. And the difference between the decisions you make today and the ones that you made last year, if they've gotten you to where you are right now, they were not good decisions. And so if we want to have more power in our lives, we have to first understand what power is, and second, how to unlock it through the actions and decisions that we make. My triple shift is I go to dinner and I come back at 7:30, and then I work from 7:30 until 11:30 or 1 or whatever, right? And when I'm putting in triple shifts is when I know I'm like really gassing it. And that's when I'm like repeatedly doing 16, 17 a day of actual productive work. A lot of us surround ourselves, or at least I did when I was starting out, surround ourselves with people who are very poor, and we listen to their advice on how to be rich, and they have no idea what they are doing. And we also listen to their judgment on why our idea is stupid, even though they are poor. So what would they know? And so this is just a visual, put this in context. 90% of businesses never hit $1 million a year in sales. 90%. Doesn't look that way on Instagram, but this is the but this person is saying you shouldn't do that, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And then you feel like you need to compromise your dreams for that person. The problem is that you put your power of your destiny in their hands, and you're asking for permission instead of support, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't accomplish your dreams and you did it because of them, who do you think you're going to resent?
Just because it's your mom or it's your brother or your best friend growing up, or that guy who you hired first and has been with you since the beginning, it still doesn't mean that they're right for the role.
It won't get harder. Like, this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons are going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. And you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. The sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and fit back into the conformity because it's comfortable and it's warm. Because like in the Matrix, when Trinity opens the door, when Neo's about to go take the red pill and he wants to get out of the car, she says, Neo, you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads. I think the one-line summary for me was that I felt like I had to let my dad's dream die for mine to live. And I felt like my entire life, it had always, up to that point, had been like, go to this school, do these studies. You know, I mean, it's a common thing. Like, it's not like I had something that a lot of people don't have. Many people, and to be fair, I'm very grateful for the skills, discipline, et cetera, that instilled. If you have a company or a business or a job where you need to influence other people, or you need to get people to say yes, or you need people to make decisions, or most importantly, make decisions for yourself that are going to change your life for the better, then we have to understand what the topic means. Character traits, if you think about this, you're like, I want to become patient. Patient is just a general term for lots of little skills. And so if you want to become more patient, you want to do things that patient people do. And that means that if I can train someone to become more patient, then patience is a skill. I think the true test of whether you're a quote perfectionist or not, is if everyone else in the room says it's exceptional, and then you say, but I'll know it's not because I don't think it's exceptional yet. If you still break what everyone else believes is beautiful so that you can make the thing that you make it the way you want it to make, or make it the way you want it to be, I think that is probably like the truest test of whether or not you really do value your own opinion.
Always hiring ahead of where you're at. And for people who don't like their current business, I can promise you that if you grow it enough, you're just going to be dealing with people. All businesses at the top are, you got a marketing person, you got a salesperson, you got a product person, you got finance, you got legal, you got tech, and that's the business. And so whether you're selling widgets, you're selling services, you're selling software, fundamentally, you're just going to have a bunch of people that are executing those things. And so at the very highest levels, business is all the same. I would definitely say it comes down to skills. And if we're just defining skills as things that you do when introduced to some sort of external stimulus that gets some outcome. And I think simplifying a lot of the woo-woo around mindset, performance, confidence, like all of that stuff, if you can boil it down to, at the end of the day, even identity, right? All it is a list of behaviors that we do.
Power is neutral. You can be incredibly powerful and bad, incredibly powerful and good. And so the idea is if we can harness power, then it amplifies who we are. And if we're shitty people, then we're very, very shitty people. And if we're very good, we're very, very good. And so I hope that all of us aspire to have more power in our lives.
I would say that there are absolutely trade-offs, and it's just whether or not you're willing to pay the price for it. And I think then we can take off the label of like, this is good, this is bad, this is healthy, this is unhealthy, and just simply say like, if the Nikes that you want on the wall are $500, that is the price. You can just choose to pay it or not. But if you choose to pay the $500 for the Nikes, you don't then say, this was unhealthy or this was bad, or you label it, you just make the trade.
So when someone objects to something, it's like, that's so weird. I wouldn't have thought that. Tell me more about that, right? And you get to be able to maintain that childlike curiosity the same way they train fighters to not breathe too much during a fight, through exposure. The more times you get into these uncomfortable, high stakes, closing scenarios, the less weird and high stakes they become because they become what you do every day.
Like a lot of great CEOs are lazy. That's fine. Let's use that. And so let's just make working more convenient than the other thing. And then your laziness will take over. Or, you know what I mean? Just like in terms of how we can frame the problem, right? Like as an example you were saying earlier with the iPhone, like scientific study, anyone can do this. You can decrease your iPhone usage by simply going to grayscale. It was thinking that a requisite for success is a problem. Like, you cannot become the wealthiest man in the world and not get sued. Like, getting sued is an indicator that you're actually is a requisite for being there. There's no person has been there without this. And so reframing what I used to consider a problem as a point of evidence that I am on the path that I originally chose.
I'm a big believer in working smarter, not harder, with the massive caveat that you have to work incredibly hard to get smart. Yeah, we all have to pay down the most expensive debt that we all pay every day, which is the debt of not knowing. Ignorance debt.
People consider like leadership to be like a foo-foo, or like communication skills is like soft stuff, right? Sales, metric, like we have all these metrics driven things versus this. And it's just because it's harder to measure doesn't make it less important. And that was a big realization for me, is that it was just because it was harder for me to measure, but it doesn't make it less important.
Okay, thanks for sticking this out. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of business content, and we'll see you around.